Well, this wasn't on my 2025 bingo card. So Valve just announced their newest bunch of gaming hardware, and it's kind of taken the industry by storm. There has been so much talk about this online, with news coming out almost daily regarding it. And I wanted to weigh in on my thoughts on everything that we heard and everything that we learned and what's kind of been going on with it since then. Because to be honest, I'm pretty excited for it. But it does hinge on one thing which we haven't talked about with all of these announcements, and that's price. But we'll get into that when we get to it, but for now, let's crack open a cold one and get right into it.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
It's caffeine-free Pepsi Max because I want to sleep tonight. Valve has just announced their latest batch of hardware, and for those of you that have been around the block for a while, like myself, you'll know that this isn't their first foray into gaming hardware. One of the things that they talked about in this video was a new Steam controller. And I say a new Steam controller because we already have a Steam controller. This thing had so much potential, and I kind of like it. A little bit of a history lesson for those of you out there that have never seen one of these before. Steam controller was a Bluetooth controller. It was, paired up with your PC. It had one thumbstick and two essentially touch-sensitive pads. I don't know why I'm caressing them like this. I'm not going to stop. This is going to make both of us feel uncomfortable here, okay? And then you also had some extra triggers on the back as well. Some analog triggers with digital click buttons. Really, really cool. Really customizable as well. One massive flaw that I found with it was it had removable batteries. And I don't like changing batteries. I find that it's a bit of a waste. And I know I could go and get rechargeable batteries, but then I need to dedicate a plug socket to charging batteries up. And kind of just want to have everything sort of like in the controller. It also charges via micro USB, so you can see how old this is, all right? But way ahead of its time. And it's something that they've kind of carried on with as well. I'm going to stop waving this around so I'm not tempted to caress the touchpads anymore. Seeing the controller that they actually showed off, they're just calling it the new Steam controller. We'll call it the Steam Controller 2 because, it's the sequel to the original here. And I think it looks pretty cool. It looks like a really unique design. Again, they've got two of the touchpads on there. It does look like it's going to be really interesting to play with. One of the really cool things with compatibility with it, so it charges via this like magnetic dock that comes with it, or puck as they're calling it, and it connects via that as well. So you plug that into your computer, you drop carefully place, I should say, the controller on top of the charging puck, and it'll pair up, and then once it's finished charging, you just you pick it up, you unpick it up when you put it down, you pick it up off there, and away you go. That's a really cool design. I really like that. I'm a big fan of simplicity like that as well. I'm a very simple man, okay? It looks like there's loads of like programmable buttons as well, and hopefully just like with the original Steam controller, when you start using it in games, you'll be able to chop and change what the buttons are, different layouts that will be set up by the community as well as by Steam and developers themselves. So overall, we're in for a good shot of having an actual really good controller, because I think this one didn't get the shot it deserved. I do like this one. I'm going to do this just until I fade out of this section. All right, so let's have a quick look through the Steam website to have a breakdown of what we've got here. So first up, we have got, let's go to the Steam control because we covered that first. Lots of very pretty rendered shots of it. And the whole idea is that, well, it just looks really cool. Like, I just love how seamless it looks. This is the puck that we were talking about here. This little quirky art style is really sick. And this is something I didn't mention in the video. Well, I say the video, this is the video, but in the first part of the recording is the magnetic thumbsticks. So what that means is essentially we're probably going to be looking at not having stick drift as part of this. This is using TMR technology, which I don't know if that's like Hall effect or not. Like, I'm not a thumbstick magnet nerd. Like, I don't understand how magnets work, all right? I'm down with ICP. High definition rumble as well. And then the grip enabled gyro. So it looks as though you can enable gyro at like essentially the flick of a button, which is a pretty interesting thing, because I'm not a big fan of gyro, but it might be handy for certain instances. So being able to turn it on and off really easily is a really cool thing in my eyes. Obviously it pairs up with the Steam Deck if you want to play multiplayer on that as well. trackpads, all the things you'd expect. L4 and like more buttons than you can shake a stick at. Oh, they've made it really cool. Like this website just makes it look really sick. Like we said, customizing your inputs as well is on there. Pairs it with anything running Steam, your Steam machine. You can pair it up. So cool. Basically, it pairs up with everything like you'd expect it to. You'd have full functionality with the whole thing. I think it's really sick. Like this animation stuff they've done, like, is so cute. Yeah, big fan of that. What have we got down here? So we've got the tech specs here. So you can see you've got the capacitive grip sense here, which is for the gyro stuff like we mentioned. L4 and L5, R4 and R5. So that is going to be great for programming macros on it. So if you're someone who plays a competitive, like I say, you're probably not using this for competitive gaming. You might be. But if you're using it for like gaming in general, having more buttons on them, meaning that you haven't got to take your hands off like the sticks to do other things, is really cool. Also, you've got the 2 thumbsticks this time as opposed to just having the 2 touchpads. So you've got both. Really like that option, which is something that I miss with the Steam Deck controller. Not Steam Deck controller, the Steam controller I have, because you're kind of like locked in to having that like experience with the 2 trackpads. It could do wired play as well. So again, like if you're worried about input latency, it's not going to be a problem there because you can do USB-C tethered play. And it's got a rechargeable battery. Big fan of that. Very big fan of that. And that is the controller. Again, like it looks super cool. Like I am a big fan of this. Depending on the price point, I don't know what has been said about the price point. I'm hoping, like, I don't even know what controllers go for these days. I'm hoping it's less than 70 quid. It looks really interesting. It might be something that I'd be tempted to pick up, because if I could pair it with my Steam Deck and then not have to like use that one, then cool. I really like the idea of it though. I think it looks really interesting. It would be cool to play with one first and just, you know, try it out. I'm interested though. Yeah, you've got me with this one, Valve. Well done. Well done. I'm going to take you down memory lane now, because we are going to talk about a new Steam computer. And no, we're not talking about a sequel to the Steam Deck. We don't need a sequel to this just yet. Valve have actually come out and said that there's not enough technical advancements out there to make it worthwhile producing one of these. So you've got the original Steam Deck here. You've also got the Steam Deck OLED if you are after like an OLED screen version. Both of them are really good. Both of them are really powerful for what they are. I have an update to do on this. I'm not going to do that whilst we do this video. And that's when Valve mentioned the Steam Machine. Now, again, this is technically the Steam Machine 2. Because this was originally done with Alienware before, I think it was before they were bought by Dell. Alienware were a gaming computer company when all that mattered with gaming was bright lights. Overall, Alienware were kind of like on the cusp of like the premium end of gaming consoles, or gaming computers I should say. And this was their sort of dabble with the console space, and it was a Steam-based computer. However, it didn't really sell too well. It wasn't really taking off, and it didn't really get the uptick that I think Valve or Alienware wanted it to have. But it wasn't just the Steam Machine that they were doing back then. We also had the Steam Link. Now, I was someone who had a couple of these because I did actually quite like it. And the whole idea of the Steam Link was you could put it under any TV in your house, and it would basically over Ethernet connection stream your games to that TV. You'd hook up the controllers to the Steam Link, and then you'd be able to play it wherever you were, which with Steam Big Picture mode was a pretty cool thing. And back in the day when games weren't super powerful and they weren't super intense to run, it was actually a really interesting bit of kit. But as games got more powerful and more demanding, kind of fell by the wayside. And as technology evolved and people could game pretty much anywhere now, yeah, things like that didn't really catch on and keep on going. But they were dirt cheap as well for what they were. I think I got mine for like less than 50 quid when I picked them up originally. But that's a history lesson out of the way. We're now talking about the new Steam Machine, the Steam Machine, the Gabe Cube, as some have called this, okay? Because this is a brand new SteamOS based console, quote unquote console like, let's say, PC, which is going to be able to fit in your living room next to your TV, look exactly like it's meant to be there, and play Steam games. Has an interchangeable faceplate, has a nice little LED strip on the front as well, can look really interesting, really cool, and it's actually really powerful. They've said it's about the power of 6 Steam Decks, okay? So that's a fair bit of grunt that's on there, all right? One of the other interesting things was they said it was quite small, with a form factor of being about 6 inches in size. Now, I would say that that's quite a large one, arguably way too big. It comes with all the features that you'd expect to find on there based on what is already available on a Steam Deck, with expandable storage slots, USB ports, HDMI ports, and everything else, and all the good things that make the Steam Deck are now going to be available in a console. Now, I'm someone who will enjoy my Steam Deck in a docked mode on my TV, so I don't know where we're going to sit with this. It all depends on that little thing we talked about earlier, which was price, but I'm pretty interested in this. It looks really cool. And like I said, it's been dubbed the GameCube. I would argue that the GameCube is one of my favorite games console, if not the most influential games console out there. It's that or the N64 for me. I really hope that someone does come out with a purple faceplate, or indigo, I should say, faceplate for it, so we can really have that original GameCube experience. However, there was no handle made for this console, so I mean, we all know which one's winning on this one. But in terms of raw performance, we'll have to look at the stats on the website for that. I mean, again, I'm going to argue, I'm highlighting this, but you can't see it. There you go. I'm going to argue that's not small. I would argue far too big, way too big. You've got so many inputs and outputs on it. It's got everything you'd expect. It's got expandable storage as well. 4K gaming at 60 FPS with a semi-custom AMD chipset. Yeah, big fan. And just look at it. Just like look at how cool that looks on your desk. The interchangeable faceplates. Apparently they've released like the CAD files for it as well, so you can like download it and make your own versions. It runs SteamOS, like we said before. But one of the other cool things is that there are going to be Steam Machine verified games. So much like if you've got a Steam Deck now and you go onto the actual like Steam like storefront, you can browse by Steam Deck verified games. So they're games which are meant to run perfectly on the deck. And there's going to be games that are verified to run perfectly on the actual Steam Machine itself as well. So it's really nice when you are picking things from your library to go, oh, do I want to play that on my Steam Machine? Oh, it's going to run perfectly fine. Cool, great. Obviously, there are going to be ones which aren't going to run perfectly fine, and you can just sort of try them and see. But hey, you know, it's also a PC, so you can install whatever you want. Now, whether that means you can install Windows on it, they do mention installing another operating system. It'd be very interesting to see what version you could get onto it and what it runs like on there, though, because if you can put Windows on it, that's going to open up a heck of a lot of stuff. What else do we have? Again, Play Anywhere, made for the Steam controller. It's great for streaming it to your Steam frame as well. And here we go, the good stuff now. All right. So we have got the semi-custom AMD chipset with the semi-custom AMD GPU, 16 gigs of DDR5, and then only 8 gigs of VRAM. Now, I know that has been quite a point of contention online, but from what I've understood, if you've used a piece of hardware for Steam before in the past, be that your computer, be it a laptop or whatever, every so often they do Steam hardware surveys, and from what I've understood from these results and this spec sheet is this kind of lines up with the most popular stuff out there. Now, obviously there are going to be enthusiasts that have really high spec rigs, but not everyone is an enthusiast, okay? What it means though is for the middle ground of people, like where the majority of people lie with playing with Steam hardware and Steam games, this sort of chipset stuff is, and like this sort of spec sheet is going to be hitting the mark for them. So it's going to be a similar, if not probably slightly better experience for them. I really like this. I think this is really cool. We've got so much connectivity on it. It's only gigabit Ethernet. I would have expected 2.5 maybe on there. DisplayPort, HDMI, 2 USB 2s. USB 2 on the back, USB-C, and then 2 USB 3s on the front with a micro SD. Interesting, they didn't just go for all USB 3, but maybe you don't need it for everything. I mean, not everything does need USB 3 speeds, so yeah. Overall, pretty cool. Again, massive, huge size, 2.6 kilos in weight. Yeah. Big fan of that. I think it looks really cool. I think it looks like this shot here with it just with the interchangeable faceplates and where it's fitting in and everywhere. Yeah, I really like that, and I am excited to see what that can look like in the future. I really want to get my hands on one, but again, it comes out of the price of it. Like I mentioned it in the video, like I alluded to it in the video, I should say. We don't know what the price is on this, and Valve has said that they're going to be speccing it like in line with a computer as opposed to a console, which I really hope means that it's going to be spec'd in accordance to the specs they have there and not, you know, with like a mid to high range computer at the moment, because they kind of need this to sit, I would say, with the controller in the box, 600 quid. And the reason I say that is because that would, you know, be a really good bit of competition for the PS5, really good bit of competition for the Xbox as well, and it would be a really good alternative to it. If they price it over that, you're then pushing into the PS5 Pro category versus like the, I don't know what they've got, an Xbox which has got extra power, you've got the special edition one which has got bigger storage, but you are pushing it then to that, and I just don't know if it's got the actual pull for it, because again, no matter how many times people tell you they love this Steam Deck or they love handheld gaming PCs, there's not that many of them out there, all right? There's a couple of million of them, obviously, but there's nowhere near as many like normal games consoles, all right? But the cool thing about this console, or I'm going to call it a console because technically it's what it is. It is a computer, but it is technically a console as well. It's trying to be marketed to sort of bridge the gap between the console gamer and PC gamer. But one of the really cool things about this is you're going to be able to stream the games to your new Steam Frame. A Steam Frame is the new VR headset which is coming out. Now, I've not got a lot of experience with PC VR stuff. In fact, I have no experience with PC VR stuff. I've got a PlayStation VR 2, which I bought on launch, and, well, you're going to see a lot more content coming for that shortly because I've got a lot of game codes for it, and I really want to make use of the actual like headset itself, but we're not going to talk about that now. But as you can tell, my experience with VR is very limited. I had a little dabble on Apple Vision Pro, but this is nothing like any of that, okay? For one, it's not as like complex with it, but it has got a computer built into the headset itself. It does come with two controllers as well, which is sort of like a Steam controller split in two, so games can work perfectly fine with it. You can stream games to it. You can install games on it. It's really cool. It's like camera tracking for how it's going to work. It looks like a really interesting evolution of the Valve Index. I don't think it needs anything else other than what you see as well. So there's no worry about having to have like little cameras set up or like around the room like you had to do with like HTC Vibes, whatever they were called. But yeah, this looks like a really interesting thing. Will I be picking it up? Probably not. And the reason for that is, again, we don't know what the price is. And given that the Valve Index isn't exactly cheap, I can't see this being cheap either. I have no idea what to expect with this, but you can do VR gaming and non-VR gaming, which I think is pretty cool. I do like with my PSVR 2 that I can play my non-VR games on this. I've got like a massive screen for it, which is, you know, it's a nice touch. It's really interesting like how it looks as well, because it's, you know, I've used an Apple Vision Pro before. It's very similar to that, but also not like as clunky. It looks a lot more lightweight as well. Looks like a really balanced, like the massive headstock at the back by here to rest it on. Streams with an adapter as well. It's got foveated rendering, so if you've used a PSVR 2, you'll know that where you look it renders, where you don't look it kind of like blurs it, because it's like peripheral vision, which is really cool. It is all the streamers are over its own like private 6 gigahertz network as well, which I quite like that idea. The controllers as well. Oh, why did you put batteries? Oh, why would you do that? Why would you put batteries in something like that? Just let it be rechargeable. Just put a lithium ion one in it. Oh, I mean, I guess like you've got to worry about the chemical capacity of a lithium ion battery running down at this point, but yeah, I am not a fan of that. It looks, again, magnetic thumbsticks like we had in the Steam controller. Pretty cool. I'm not against that. It looks really, really cool as a headset as well. And the idea isn't to wear this outside, so it is an idea that is worn inside. It is ideally to be worn like when you're gaming and not when you're walking around the street. It's going to be really interesting to see what comes of this, because if this is popular as like interest in VR is going, I'd be intrigued to see where people push it. Let me get out the spec sheet here. How is it charged? I mean, the fact that it's got a full-on computer inside it is ridiculous. It's got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 16 gigs of RAM. It comes with 256 or 1 terabyte of storage. It's got a 21.6 watt hour lithium ion battery inside it. Charges with a USB-C via 45 watt. Does it say what the battery life is on it? Have I missed that? Seamless audio experience, camera tracking, jump right into your games. Doesn't mention battery life there. They not mentioned how long the battery actually lasts. Sorry, my mouth's having a moment here, so it's scrolling really slowly. That's the controller there. No, they haven't. They haven't mentioned it outright. So I wonder how long it lasts, because who knows? Who knows? Either way, it looks pretty cool. Again, it all comes down to pricing. The controllers, again, it looks as though you've got capacitive finger tracking. I'm a fan. I am a fan of it. If it's not too expensive, who knows? But that is everything that was discussed in this little video. And I will say this video was really cute. It was really charming, and I really did enjoy watching it. And it's something that if you haven't watched it, I would recommend you watch it in full, because the charm of Steam does come over in it. And I just think we're at a really interesting point with gaming now, because Microsoft were going to be bringing out a console which had very similar properties to this, the ability to install Steam on it. Well, now Steam's giving you that option. Steam's giving you the option to install whatever you want on it, because they are very, very strong on saying that it is a PC that is going under your TV. So if you want to install whatever you want on it, you can. You can have all the storefronts on there if you want. It's going to be a really interesting landscape which we're going to be walking into with gaming now, because theoretically, you only need this. There isn't like a funny cutaway or a comical ending like I'd normally do now. I just want to say one thing, and that's hug your friends. Let them know that you love them. Make it really weird, but let them know that they are loved and that you're there for them.